My name is Brojay.
And I'm Enrique.
Tell me about yourself.
My name is Enrique Rios. I am a 16-year-old high school student at Gateway High School. My parents are from Fresnillo, Zacatecas, Mexico. I am a pretty stressed out over academic weapon because, parent pressure is really the main reason. My parents come from like really backgrounds, so they really want me to strive to be the best they can be. And it's really hard for me sometimes because, sometimes they beat me, especially as a kid. They sometimes they take it a little too far, but I mean it's for the best, because pe- people deserve to be successful. So I understand where they come from, but sometimes it's just too much.
Okay, that makes sense. Tell me why you're so stressed.
I think I'm really stressed because it's both from the teachers themselves, because sometimes they compliment me one day and then the other day like you're a failure. Well, not really a failure, but that's the message I get from them. And also just from, as I said before, family, especially my family in my case, because they always expect a lot from me because they know I'm really smart, quote unquote. But it's pretty, sometimes it gets out of hand where it I just get these like sad feelings, that I'm a failure because I failed my parents, because I deeply love them, and if I ever upset them, then I just get sad, and it gets to a point where it gets suicidal, and that's, I know it's deep, but like it's the truth. But sometimes, like, just being really stressed from schoolwork, and mostly primarily because of schoolwork, is it just gets out of hand. And it's good to encourage, be like, doing your working your hardest, but yeah, it can get to a point where you overstress yourself.
So you'd say that your family stress or your family problems kind of add on to your school grade stress.
They definitely do. I think as of recently, they've been being a little less strict, and that kind of contributes to less grades because I I'm more loose on how much work I actually do. So ever since I'd say sophomore year of high school, my grades have been dipping a little bit because my importance for grades just kind of are starting to dip. But sometimes I know I can be pretty smart at times, but you know I think it. I think I could definitely see the parent influence where when they're really like into you, like they really get mad at you and they just like pressure you. You see how, especially in my case, my grades get better, but once they loosen up, you really don't have the courage to actually try to in school. So
Okay. Um, how do you how do you feel about me seeing you as an academic weapon or a stressed academic weapon?
I mean, I feel like it has the same kind of effect that my parents have. You kind of have this bar set for me, as to how much you should do in school. You know, um, especially in your case because I've you know me for quite a bit. You know how I put a lot of work into it. I have, even though I like to have fun occasionally. I just, how I do take grades seriously. So it kind of sets like a kind of loose kind of stress pressure compared to my parents, but it's still some kind of pressure which would add up to all that pressure that leads to stress. And I think also just the perspective from people in general, um it really does add on to the overall pressure and just stress from being overachieved academic weapon.
um, do you think that being a stressed or stressed out academic weapon is a good thing?
I think it actually is a pretty good thing because it develops a mindset where there is no point of like of not trying. It's good for you know how like a lot of successful people they always just tell you to like not give up and stuff like that. You know, I feel like it's really good to develop this kind of sensation of keep going at your hardest because you know especially for like the really hard jobs like being a lawyer and like being a doctor and a surgeon, you know those jobs those kind of careers always just like encourage you to put all your like if your life depends on it on that actual job. So you know being an academic weapon, you know it's just like it kind of encourages you to do your best, and it even does for like a lot of my hobbies, you know. I am not an easy quitter when it comes to a lot of things I like do as a passion. So you know I think it's a good habit to develop where you don't really easily give up on what you're trying to do. You just keep compromising until you find your way out.
Do you like the stress?
Um, Sometimes the stress, as I've been saying in this whole time, I think it can get out of hand. You know, to the point where it's just hard to even do anything and to be motivated. But at the same time, it's pretty good to be stressed because you know it avoids procrastination in a way, I guess, because you you feel like your life depends on your work you have to do. No matter how important it is to me, especially in my case, because my parent pressure, you know, they always make so they make they like they're really harsh on like the littlest things, like the littlest grades. If I miss one class or if I'm tardy to one class, they're like really hard on me. So you know, I think the stress is pretty important if you want to be like, I mean, there's no perfect in this world, but you know, it's good if you want to be like like a really the pinnacle of the best, you know.
How many others do you think, or how many others do you know suffer from their academics or their academic stress?
Actually, I feel like the interviewee, I think you actually are like pretty stressed out about academics too, because you know, I mean, I really don't want to get into your like you know personal life, but you know, I've just seen how like you really care about your grades, and it's really hard. It's pretty hard like just seeing other people be kind of like me, you know, where they see their life as just this really important thing where it's kind of just a ride or die kind of case where you know if you don't put all that effort in, then you're just gonna it's just all gonna fall down, and you're just gonna be be a quote unquote failure because you know you didn't put enough effort, especially for family kind of pressure, because those are the people that most commonly know you. They definitely try to down you if you like fail quote unquote again, but like it yeah, I can definitely see you and me as in just like seeing your grades and just being overstressed as like a ride or die kind of situation.
Do you think your situation, well, our situation is relatable, and how?
I think it can be pretty relatable in a lot of cases, especially in like hobbies where you know people like especially in sports where you want to try to be like go pro or something because you know we because we as overachievers, you know, we don't like we don't compromise. We just keep going until we can finally have that kind of pinnacle of like happiness where we see how we finally achieved what we wanted to. So you know, I feel like people in sports, you know, they I've seen a lot like on Instagram. I've seen a lot of like these kind of motivational sports quotes. So I think it's a case of like it you keep persevering until you get to that pinnacle, and you know you finally just like you're at that happiness, you know. So yeah, it's just and then at in the on the way there you get really stressed because you know you feel like a failure every no matter how small a mistake is, you feel helpless. So you know I think it's pretty relatable in our case.
If you were to summarize your experiences leading up to you being an overachiever, what would you say?
um I would say the events that led up to being an overachiever have been like they've been pretty life exchanging, pretty traumatizing at the same time. But in the end, I feel like it's a good thing because if you're too soft, if you just like maybe you're rich or maybe you're just like gifted, I feel like you just feel like you're entitled to success, and I just feel like having that kind of perseverance to keep going is really important because if you don't do that, then you're just you're gonna be too cocky and you're just gonna in the end it's not gonna work out for you. You're not gonna know what to do once you're actually in the pressure where you actually need to, you actually want to like succeed in a way where you actually have to work hard. And I think especially with me trying CCA offsite classes, it's definitely and AP classes, they definitely humbled me because in the past few years I feel like I have been a little bit more like I don't really study, and I feel like those classes really humbled me because I kind of at first I was doing horribly, and then over time I just developed this mindset where you do actually need to gain knowledge, and you can't just rely on the smarts you have, and you have to keep adapting to the to new events in your life. So I think having this a challenge in your life is really good, and just stressing about it because it makes it easier to adapt. It's like, oh, it's not that bad actually, I can learn from this too. And sometimes I don't see it, but it is that way. But it definitely is a good thing. Just having this notion of like really persevering until you make it.
It's just commitment, really. Yeah, if you can't commit to it, then you're not gonna get anywhere. Which brings me to my next question and last question: where do you think all of this stress will lead you? Where do you want all of this academic stress to lead you?
I think with the amount of stress I've been having as of late, I think it will take me to a job where like a highly accredited job or like a career. I'm really thinking lawyer because those guys really don't get a lot of sleep because they're always just day and night looking for evidence, and it's just like looking for references in the Constitution and like the Federalist books and things like that, to defend their clients in court. I feel like this notion of stress is definitely gonna help me develop this personality trait of like you can't just give up. You have to keep going because life just keeps moving. So why just stop? So you just gotta keep going, and overstressing is has been a blessing for me, even though a lot of the time I don't see it that way because as I've been saying, it's really good for having the notion of persevering. you know as like poet speaking, it has taught me, you just stop, you and then you just keep going, because you just give up, then you're not gonna get anywhere.
Thank you, Enrique, for allowing me to interview you. You are in my opinion, I think you're a stressed out academic weapon who's also very smart.
Well, I appreciate that. I'd say the same.
We're done. We're done. My back hurts.
Yeah, mine too.
I hate having bad posture.
Let's delete. Oh my god.